Hi, welcome to Grammar Compass with Sir Victor. Let us master English language together. Kindly reach out to us via our social media handles on the screen. Concord. In this lesson, we are going to do a basic introduction to this all-important grammatical concept. Afterwards, we are going to look at the complexities, the nitty-gritty, and the intricacies that are involved in using this grammatical concept. Let's delve straight into the lesson. What is Concord? Have you ever heard it in your grammar class? Of course, if you are a language enthusiast, you might have heard this in a grammar class. What is the meaning? Concord simply means the agreement between two grammatical units in a sentence. The key word over here is the agreement. When we talk about grammatical units, we are looking at the words that are joined together meaningfully to form the sentence. So what we are saying here is that those words must agree. And what do we mean by agreement? Let us have this example. George is a very kind man. What is the agreement that you see in this particular sentence? Over here, George is our subject and it is a singular noun. Do you see the verb that we chose for George? We used is. Is always used for singular subjects. So in this case, George and is are in agreement because they agree in terms of number. Both of them are singular. So when we say concord, it means that whenever one unit in a sentence shows a particular grammatical property, the other units must also show the same property. So in this sentence, George is singular. Therefore, the verb must also reflect singularity. So there is a concord relationship between the subject over here and the verb. Let us visualize this. Here, we can see that the agreement we are talking about has been indicated with a green color. George is singular and is also singular, meaning they are in agreement. What do we call this kind of agreement? We call it the subject and verb agreement. You might have heard it somewhere, subject-verb agreement. However, is this the only agreement that we see in a sentence, George is a very kind man? Or are there any other agreements in the sentence? Let us look at this. George is a very kind man. The same sentence. However, there is a different agreement that we see here. Over here, the article a is always used before singular count nouns, and man is a singular count noun. So this means that the article is also in agreement with man. Provided we change man over here to men, would the sentence still be grammatically correct? No, it is going to be George is a very kind man. A cannot precede a plural noun. So this sentence, we see that there is also an agreement between the article. All articles fall under determinants. So there is an agreement between the determiner a and the man, which is also singular. And is it an agreement between the subject and the verb? No, because a is not our subject and man is not our verb. This means we have other kinds of agreement in English under Concord. So we would call this a determiner noun agreement because the determiner a agrees in number with man. We still see other kinds of agreement in this particular sentence. Let us look at this. George is a very kind man, and the emphasis is on kind man. Kind is an adjective, and it can only be used to modify nouns that are animate, particularly human nouns. Can you say a kind tree or a kind car? No, you can't use those nouns because they are inanimate. This means that there is a particular agreement relationship based on meaning between kind and also man, because you can't put any noun here. It must be a human noun. So this is a semantic relationship. In grammar, when we say semantics, we are talking about the meaning of the grammatical item. So here, there is a meaning relationship between the adjective and also man. They agree in terms of semantics. So what do we call this agreement? It is an agreement between the adjective and the noun. So here, you are realizing that Concord is very broad. And when we say subject-verb agreement, that's not all that Concord is about. It is just a subcategory of Concord. Let us look at this sentence. Is this grammatically correct? George are a very kind man. No, of course, it is not grammatically accurate. Why? Because the subject here is singular, but we used a plural verb, which means there is a disagreement between the subject and the verb. So Concord was not applied over here. Also, we have a very kind man. Is the article and the noun in agreement? No. This is because the article is used before singular count nouns. However, we have a plural noun. So this sentence is grammatically incorrect. So whenever you fail to apply the rules of Concord, your sentences that you use, how you communicate with your friends, you are going to sound very awkward. Therefore, Concord is very important, not just for examination, but for your communication as well. We have two handsome students on our screens, and they've written sentences. Let us analyze the sentences that they have written, looking at the first image. Our gentleman has written, she are a girl. Is this sentence grammatically correct? No. This is because she is a singular subject and must go with a singular verb. But we used a plural verb. So, Concord was not applied. Let us look at the second image. Our boy is smiling beautifully because he has written a grammatically accurate sentence. We have she, where is a singular subject, and it has been used with a singular verb is. So, the boy is happy because Concord was used, and he can communicate well using this sentence with others. So Concord is an all-important grammatical concept in English, which must be taken very seriously. Let us analyze the following sentences to build a strong foundation for our Concord lessons. We have 3 sentences. You have 30 seconds. Identify which one is grammatically correct and which one is grammatically incorrect. Are you done? Let's take sentence 1. This book is mine. Was Concord applied over here? No, because we have a plural demonstrative determiner. These should be used before plural nouns. But we have book, where is a singular noun, meaning Concord did not do its work over here. So the sentence is grammatically incorrect. Can you correct it? You can say that these books, and you change the verb to are. So these books are mine. Then we would have a grammatically accurate sentence. The second one, the man and his dog was here. Is this grammatical? No, because we have a plural subject. The man and his dog, we can replace it with they. Do we say they was here? Of course not. So this verb is supposed to change to agree with the subject. So Concord was also not applied here, leading the sentence to be ungrammatical. Let us look at the last one. We have another plural subject. All the boys in the room has a car. This is not grammatically accurate because all the boys in the room is a plural subject and must go with a plural verb. Therefore, has rendered the sentence ungrammatical. Can you correct it? You can say, all the boys in the room have a car. Then we have our Concord rule applied. So unfortunately, all these examples are exactly like what this boy has written here. She are a girl. If you communicate like this with your friends, then I tell you, you are going to make a joke of yourself. So please, let's take Concord very seriously. All these sentences are showing that there are different kinds of agreements that exist in English, meaning there are different kinds of Concord. Let us look at the three broad categories of Concord. 1. We have the most important agreement relationship in English, and it is the grammatical concord, which is popularly called subject-verb agreement. This is not the only type of concord in English. We can also talk of proximity concord, and of course, you should take note of the key words proximity. We will talk about these concord rules in our subsequent lessons. Now, the last type of concord that I want to draw your attention to is the notional concord. Take note of the keyword notional. Now, in our next video, we will delve deeper into what grammatical concord is. Until then, rewatch this video to have a firm grasp of the concept of concord in English. See you in the next video. In our previous lesson, we were introduced to the concept of concord, and we acknowledge the fact that we have different agreements in English, and concord is all about that agreement. Let us look at the first category or type of concord, which is the grammatical concord, which is popularly called subject-verb agreement. What is grammatical concord? As I've said, this is what is referred to as subject-verb agreement, meaning it is the agreement between the subject and the verb in a sentence. This means that the subject and the verb must agree in a sentence in various ways. I hope we know what subjects are, and then we can also identify verbs. Let us have these examples to establish this particular kind of concord. The first example, the boy plays every day in school. What is the subject? If you want to identify the subject, simply ask yourself who is performing the action in the sentence. Over here, the boy is our subject because it is the noun that is performing this action. And we are saying that for subject-verb agreement, the subject, which is the boy in our case, should agree with the verb. In what sense? The subject is a singular subject, therefore it needs a singular verb. And in English, whenever you want to use a verb in the third person singular for a singular subject, always choose a verb with S inflection. It can be S, it can be ES or IES. So in this sentence, the boy is singular, and that is why plays has an S inflection at the back of it. There is an agreement here between the boy, which is our subject, and our verb, plays. That is what we mean by subject-verb agreement. You should take note that whenever the subject is singular, in English, the verb should have an S inflection. That's why S has been added to play, to make it plays. If it were supposed to be the boys, then we wouldn't add S to the verb. It would be the boys play. But the boy, a singular boy, plays. What if we are supposed to choose between go and goes. Since it is a singular subject, you will say the boy goes. Equally, the boy dances. We can say the boy cries and the boy develops. Why? This is because the boy is singular. It is our subject, so it should agree with the verb that we choose for it. That is the meaning of grammatical concord. The subject should agree with the verb. These are instances where we have singular subjects. What about plural subjects? These are boys, and it is not the boy. So, what would be the subject-verb agreement relationship between the subject, which is plural in this case, and the verbs? Here, we have the boys play. So, the boys, which is our subject, has taken a verb which is also plural because the subject is plural. So, the verb should not take any S inflection. Equally, we can say the boys go and not the boys goes. We say the boys dance and not the boys dances. We say the boys cry and not the boys cries. We say the boys develop and not the boys develops. What is wrong with this particular sentence? The boy in the shop come from Accra. What is the subject? Who comes from Accra? The subject is the boy in the shop. Is it a plural or a singular subject? Since the head word is boy, which is singular, it means we have a singular subject, and it should take a singular verb, a verb with S. However, we used a plural verb for the boy, which is singular. So, this is grammatically incorrect. There is an error in subject-verb agreement in this sentence. Can you correct it? You can say comes. For example, the boy in the shop comes from Accra. Here, there is an agreement between the boy in the shop, which is singular. He comes from Accra. So basically, that is the meaning of subject-verb agreement or grammatical concord. It is the agreement or the concord relation between the subject and also the verb in a sentence. There are two basic rules that underpin grammatical concord. You cannot do away with these two rules because it forms the bedrock of subject-verb agreement. All the other rules that you see on the internet and in some books are exceptions to these two rules in grammatical concord. And what are these two basic rules? The first one is that a singular subject needs a singular verb. In other words, if the subject in the sentence is singular, then the verb must also be singular. Let's see this example. Smith is a singular subject. Look at the form of the verb. It takes an S inflection. This means that the verb is also singular. So Smith drives carefully. You'll be wrong if you say Smith drive carefully, because nouns that are singular and serve as subject always take verbs with S inflections. Take note. The second rule that underpins grammatical concord is that a plural subject needs a plural verb, which means if you have a plural subject, in our case boys, the verb must also be plural. It should not take any S inflection. We would say boys drive and not boys drives. So these are the two basic rules of concord. A singular subject needs a singular verb. A plural subject needs a plural verb. Now let's take the first rule and investigate into it in detail. A singular subject needs a singular verb. This is a boy and it is singular. So If the boy is used as the subject of a sentence, then the verb must also be singular. Let us have these examples. Example number 1. Charles has been coming here, or Charles have been coming here. Which one is the correct response? It should be Charles has been coming here, because we have a singular subject, and whenever we have a singular subject, the verb must also be singular. So between has and have, which one is the singular verb? Obviously, we can say that it is has. Therefore, the sentence should read, Charles has been coming here, and not Charles have been coming here. In the second one, we can see that our subject is the boy, and we have the boy drives home carefully, and not the boy drive home carefully. This is because if you have a singular subject, you must choose a singular verb for it. Remember, in English, the verbs that have s at the end, or the verbs that have s inflections, are singular verbs, and those that do not have any s inflection are plural. Therefore, this is the singular form and this is the plural form. So you should say the boy drives and not the boy drive. Drives is the right response to this particular sentence. Let us move on to look at this. The whole construction in red is functioning as our subject, and it reads, the man who bought a car for his mother was happy. Why did we choose was? This is because the man who bought a car for his mother is a singular subject. Let us look at this particular word. It is the most obligatory element in the whole phrase. The whole of this is a noun phrase which is functioning as our subject, and man is the most obligatory element, and it can replace the whole phrase. We can say the man was happy. Therefore, since man is the most compulsory element in the phrase, it is the head word in English. And in English, whenever you have the head word in a phrase, it is the one that is going to determine whether the subject is a singular subject or a plural subject. So over here, we can see that the most important word, which is man, is a singular noun. Therefore, we will choose was and not were. In other way, you can replace the whole of this with a pronoun. Which pronoun can you replace this with? You can say, he was happy. So the he will stand for the man who bought a car for his mother. So we have a singular subject over here. Let us move on to the next one. We have another singular subject, and it is the girl who traveled abroad with friends and family. Forget about with friends and family. We still have a singular subject. Why? Because girl is the most important element in that phrase. So it can replace the whole of this. We can say the girl works in the ministry and not the girl work in the ministry. Therefore, girl is the head word of the entire phrase. So you should concentrate on the head word and then you choose the verb that goes with the head word. So in this sentence, you can replace the whole subject over here with a pronoun. So what pronoun can replace the whole subject? You can say she works in the ministry. The last sentence. In the evening, a handsome young man named John joins us for dinner. What is our subject? Who joins us for dinner? The subject is a handsome young man named John. Therefore, it is a singular subject because man is the most important element in this particular phrase. you can say, in the evening, a man joins us for dinner, and not a man join us for dinner. Therefore, you can replace the whole of this with he. You can say, in the evening, he joins us for dinner, and not he join us for dinner. In a nutshell, if you want to verify whether your subject is singular, try to replace it with a pronoun, and that pronoun must agree with the head word of that particular phrase, or the most important noun in that particular phrase. So here, you can say, he drives home carefree. Over here, you can say, he was happy. Over here, you can say, she works in the ministry. And in the last sentence, you can say, he joins us for dinner. Let us look at the next basic rule in subject-verb agreement. A plural subject means a plural verb. This means that whenever we have a plural subject, the verb must also be plural. Let us have these examples. Example number 1. Charles and Mary have or has been coming here. Charles and Mary are plural. Therefore, the verb form must also be plural in order to ensure that the Grammatical Concord rule is applied. We say they have been coming here, and not they has been coming here. The second sentence, the boys drive home carefree, or the boys drives home carefree. Here, the boys is our subject, and it must take a plural verb. This is because the boys is plural. Therefore, the verb form that you take should not have any S inflection. So remember that we use verbs without S inflections for plural subjects. Let us look at the next sentence. The men who bought a car for their mother were happy, or the men who bought a car for their mother was happy. Is the subject singular or plural? It is plural. Why? Because men is the most obligatory element in the whole phrase. Therefore, since it is plural, it makes the entire construction a plural subject. So we would say, they were happy. The girls who traveled abroad with friends and family work in the ministry. Or the girls who traveled abroad with friends and family works in the ministry. Over here, we have a plural subject because the obligatory element in the whole phrase is the girls, and it is plural, which means that if we want to replace the whole of our subject with a pronoun, then the appropriate pronoun is going to be they. So, they work in the ministry, and not they works in the ministry. So remember, whenever we have a plural subject, the verb form will not take an S inflection. Now to the last sentence. In the evening, handsome young men in our neighborhood join us for dinner, and not joins us for dinner. This is because the subject is plural, because it is marked with an obligatory element, men, which is also plural. So whenever you have a phrase as a subject, look for the obligatory element that can replace the entire phrase. Here, we can say that in the evening, men join us for dinner. So since men can replace the whole of this, it means that it is the head word. And if it is plural, then the whole construction becomes plural. If it is singular, then the whole construction becomes singular. And then we select the appropriate verb form. Let us look at some complexities that you should take note in order to know whether your subject is singular or plural. When a clause or a prepositional phrase serve as subjects, always go for a singular verb. When a clause or a prepositional phrase serve as subjects, always go for a singular verb. We are going to look at examples where these clauses are functioning as subjects. Let us first deal with this kind of clause. It is called WH clauses. If you don't have any idea about clauses, simply we can say that a clause is a construction that has a verb in it. So when we say WH clauses, they are constructions that usually start with WH words and they have a verb in it. However, they do not make sentences on their own. So in sentences, they may function as subjects. Let us see some examples of WH clauses functioning as subjects. We can say, what she says surprises everyone. What is the clause? The clause is what she says, and it is serving as the subject of the verb surprises. Why? Ask yourself, what surprises everyone? The answer is what she says. You can replace it with it. So you can say, it surprises everyone. This means that the whole of whatever we are seeing here is functioning as a noun. So clauses, when they occur as subjects, will perform the role of a noun. You can replace clauses functioning as subjects with the pronoun it. Let us look at the second sentence. Where he went remains a mystery. Why did we choose a singular verb? This is because we have a clause serving as our subject. So, if we want to find a subject, let's ask ourselves, what remains a mystery? The answer is where he went. We can replace it with it. It remains a mystery. So when clauses function as subjects, they perform the role of a noun, so they can be replaced with the pronoun it. How they solved the problem was impressive. What was impressive? How they solved the problem. So you can replace the whole of this with it. It was impressive. So this is serving as a subject and it is a clause, a WH clause. So they begin with WH words and they have verbs in them. However, they function as subjects and not sentences. Let's look at these ones. Why she left early is unclear. What is unclear? Why she left early? We can say it is unclear. So why she left early is serving as our subject. Let's look at the next one. Who will win the election? Excites the crowd. What excites the crowd? Your answer is your subject. Who will win the election? So this is not a sentence, it is a clause. It is functioning as the subject of our verb. So we can say, it excites the crowd. So look at the kind of verbs that were used after these clauses. They are singular verbs. So whenever you have a clause serving as your subject, you can replace it with it. And you have to go for a singular verb. That is a verb with an S inflection. Take note. When you replace clauses with it, that it is called anticipatory it. So it replaces clauses that serve as subjects. Anticipatory it. Let us look at the other forms of clauses that can also serve as subjects. Second, we can have that clauses. These clauses do not begin with WH words. They begin with the word that. And they don't function as a sentence. They function as a noun. So you can replace them with the anticipatory it. You can say, that she passed the test is remarkable. What is remarkable? That she passed the test. So the whole of this is serving as our subject. You can replace it with it. It is remarkable. That he ignores the warning causes the accident. What causes the accident? It is the whole of this because it is our subject. So you can say that he ignores the warning. You can replace it with it. It causes the accident. Equally, in the next one, we can say it amazes everyone. Equally, we can also say it is disappointing. It was unexpected. So these are that clauses. When they begin sentences before the main verb, they function as subjects, and you must always go for singular verbs. So, it is, it causes, it amazes, it is, it was. Take note. You can always replace clauses with the anticipatory it. Let us see the next type of clause. That is the two infinitive clauses. These clauses begin with the infinitive marker to, and it is followed by the bare form of the verb. For example, to finish the project on time is our priority. What is our priority? To finish the project on time. So this can be replaced with it. We can say it is our priority. So this means the whole of this is serving as our subject because you can replace it with a pronoun. And it is a two infinitive clause. It begins with to and then the bare form of the main verb. Now, let us move on to the next example. To learn a new language takes effort. What takes effort? To learn a new language. So you can replace it with it. It takes effort. So, two infinitive clauses also go with singular verbs. So whenever you have any kind of clause, please choose a singular verb for it. A verb with an S inflection. So to travel the world is her dream. Not to travel the world are her dream. Let's take note. You can equally replace two infinitive clauses with the anticipatory it. It guarantees success. It is her dream. It benefits your health, and furthermore. Let us look at the participial clause, which also function as subjects. These clauses are verbal elements. They have the form of verbs. However, they are not functioning as verbs in these sentences. They will function as subjects. For example, running every morning keeps him fit. What keeps him fit? Running every morning. So running every morning becomes our subject. You can replace it with the anticipatory it. It keeps him fit. Watching documentaries inspires creativity. It inspires creativity. Practicing regularly improves your skills. It improves your skills. Helping others brings joy. It brings joy. Studying late at night affects concentration. It affects concentration. You can always replace clauses with it. And clauses as subjects always take the singular verbs, the verbs with S. Under the bed is a strange place to hide. Under the bed is serving as our subject, and you can replace it with it. By the river is where we usually meet. On top of the shelf is a good spot for the vase. After the meeting is the perfect time to discuss the issue. Between the two trees stands a beautiful bench. So you will not choose your verb based on the trees over here. Why? Because it is a prepositional phrase that is serving as our subject and not the trees. Therefore, prepositional phrases always go with singular verbs. Whenever you have a phrase that starts with a preposition, it is a prepositional phrase. And when it is used as subjects, it should be followed by a singular verb. If you are able to choose the right answers for these sentences, it means that you understand the two basic rules of Concord. The animal in the garden look or looks different. Which verb would you choose? The answer will be given. The young women at the market sell or sells tomatoes. What is your answer? That he has not eaten doesn't or don't concern me at all. Let us see our answers. The animal in the garden looks different. This is because we have a singular subject, so the verb must take an S inflection. The animal in the garden, it looks different. Let us look at this. The young women at the market sell tomatoes and not sells tomatoes. This is because the young women at the market is a plural subject, so it shouldn't take a verb with S. It should be sell. The last one, that he has not eaten, doesn't concern me at all. Why did we choose does and not do? This is because we had a clause, and that clause that was serving as our subject. Therefore, clauses always go with singular verbs. That he has not eaten doesn't concern me at all. We've come to the end of today's lesson. What were the two rules that we said or talked about? We said a singular subject must go with a singular verb, and a plural subject must go with a plural verb. When you have clauses or prepositional phrases as subjects, go for singular verbs and not plural verbs. See you in our next video, where we would look at some exceptions to these grammatical concord rules. In our previous lesson, we learned about the first type of concord, and that is grammatical concord, also called subject-verb agreement. In this lesson, we are going to talk about the second type of concord, and that is proximity concord. What is proximity concord? Do you understand the word proximity? It is a noun, and it means closeness. If something is in a proximal distance, it means that the thing is closer to you. In grammar, if we say proximity concord, it means that the noun that is closer to the verb agrees with it, which means we are going to have more than one noun in the sentence, and the one that will be closer to our verb will be the one that will determine the type of verb that we need to choose. Let us have this example. Either the girls or the boy is mad at me. Either the girls or the boy are mad at me. Is it is or are? What does the rule of proximity says? It says the noun that is closer to the verb agrees with it. We see two nouns here, the girls and also the boy. Which one is closer to our verb? Obviously, it is the boy. Therefore, it is the boy which is going to agree with the verb here and not the girls. In this sentence, the correct response would be is. This is because the boy is singular and it is the noun that is closer to our verb. So the sentence would read, either the girls or the boy is mad at me. The boy is mad at me. That is the rule of proximity. The second noun agrees with the verb, not the first noun. Let us visualize this particular sentence. Either the girls, of course there are many. We can count about 7 girls in the picture. Either the girls or the boy is mad at me. Why did we select is? Because it is the boy that is closer to the verb. That is all that proximity concord is about. The noun that is closer to the verb will agree with it. So we can say, the boy are mad at me. It is either the girls or the boy is mad at me. That is the principle underpinning proximity concord. You must note that you do not just apply proximity concord in any sentence that you meet. You must look at the conditions which will help you to determine whether you should apply proximity concord or not. Let us review some of the conditions. First of all, the two nouns that are joined should be joined by correlative conjunctions. The two nouns must be joined by correlative conjunctions. So, if the two nouns are not joined by a correlative conjunction, do not go and apply proximity concord rule. For example, this is a correlative conjunction, either or. It is a correlative conjunction. So whenever you see either or joining two nouns, then you must apply proximity concord. If you don't see correlative conjunctions, please do not go and apply proximity concord. These conjunctions must be present and they must join nouns before you can apply proximity concord. So in this sentence, either the girls or Bismarck, we can apply proximity concord. And our rule says that the noun that is closer to the verb agrees with it. So in this case, the noun that comes after or will be the one that is closer to our verb. Therefore, we would say either the girls or Bismarck, which is closer to the verb, comes home late. Here is another correlative conjunction, neither nor. So immediately you see neither nor joining two nouns in the subject position. It is the second noun that is going to agree with our verb. I will repeat. If you don't see correlative conjunctions, do not go and apply proximity concord rule. Here, we can apply proximity concord. Why? Because we have a correlative conjunction, neither nor. Therefore, it is the second noun that is going to agree with the verb. We would say, neither my friends nor my father has a car. This is because my father is the noun that is closer to our verb. Therefore, my father would take a singular verb, that is has. Here is another sentence. Either my son or my daughters. Here, we are going to apply proximity concord. This is because we have a correlative conjunction, and it is joining two nouns. My son and my daughters. Which one is closer to our verb? Obviously, it is my daughters, and it is plural, which means we have to choose a plural verb. So the right response would be, either my son or my daughters were aware. If you see these correlative conjunctions joining two nouns, it is the second noun that is going to agree with your verb, which is when the two conjunctions or and nor are used in a sentence without either and neither, proximity concord rule is still applicable. What do we mean? What we mean here is that sometimes you will not see either and neither in the subject position. However, if you see or joining two nouns or nor joining two nouns, you will still apply proximity concord rule. Let us have these examples. Example number 1. The young woman, the students, the teachers, the farmers, or Mavis is or are my friend. Which one are we going to choose? We can see that we have mentioned about 5 people here. The young woman, the students, the teachers, the farmers, and Mavis. However, all these nouns are joined by or. Therefore, we will apply Proximity Concord rule, which means it is the noun that is closer to our verb that is going to agree with it. In our case, Mavis is going to agree with our verb. We can say, Mavis is my friend. This means that we are not going to consider all the nouns over here. Rather, we will focus on only Mavis because it is the noun that is closer to the verb. And why are we applying Proximity Concord rule? This is because the nouns are joined by or. And the rule says that whenever we have or nor joining the nouns, where either and neither are not even present, we will still apply Proximity Concord rule. It is the noun that is closer that is going to agree with the verb. Let's have another example. My neighbors, nor my father, knows the chief and not know the chief. Why? Because my father is the noun that is closer to our verb. And we say my father knows and not my father know. Why did we apply Proximity Concord here? Can you explain? Yes, this is because we can see nor joining the two nouns. Immediately you see the nor, it means that you have to apply Proximity Concord. Therefore, the second noun, which is closer to the verb, will agree with it. Let us have another example. Mr. Nkrumah, Emmanuel, the children, my friend, or my sister. Because or is joining the nouns, then we are going to apply Proximity Concord. Therefore, my sister is the one that is closer to the verb, and it is the one that should agree with the verb. So the sentence would read, Mr. Nkrumah, Emmanuel, the children, my friend, or my sister, knows the chief. The next sentence, the president, Evans, Kwame, nor the girls understand the chief. Can you explain why the verb is understand? The noun that is closer to the verb would agree with it. And why are we applying Proximity Concord? Because the nouns are joined by nor. So it would be the girls understand the chief. The books, the pen, or the pencils are on the table. We have or joining the nouns. The one that is closer will agree with our verb. Therefore, it will be the pencils are on the table. Now that you understand the application of Proximity Concord, let us test ourselves with these sentences. Sentence number 1. The books or the bag is missing, are missing. What is your answer? Remember, we can see that the nouns are joined by or, so we will apply proximity, which means we will focus on the second noun. I hope you know the answer already. Write it down, we will come back to it. Next sentence. Neither the teacher nor the students is happy or are happy with the results. Write your answer down. Sentence 3. The chef, the assistants, or the waiters is or are preparing the dishes. We have or joining our nouns. Therefore, we will apply Proximity Concord, which means the waiters is the one that is going to agree with our verb. Sentence 4. Neither the cat nor the dogs is in the yard or are in the yard. These nouns are joined by nor. Therefore, we will apply Proximity Concord. What is your answer? The leader, the managers, or the followers supports or support the new strategy. What is your answer? Let us see the correct responses to these sentences. The first one, the books or the bag is missing. I hope you got it correct. We applied proximity concord because of the presence of or joining the two nouns. We focused on the bag because it is the one closer to the verb. Let's move on to the next sentence. Neither the teacher nor the students. So the students here is plural. Therefore, we must choose a plural verb because we have our nouns being joined by neither nor, and we will apply proximity concord rule. So the answer would be are. This is because the students is the noun that is closer to our verb. The next sentence, the chef, the assistants, or the waiters. The waiters would agree with our verb, so it will be the chef, the assistants, or the waiters are preparing the dishes. The next sentence, neither the cat nor the dogs is or are in the yard. The answer is are because it is the dogs that is going to agree with our verb. We applied proximity because of the presence of nor and neither. The next sentence, the leader, the managers, or the followers supports or supports the new strategy. The correct response is support. This is because the followers is the one that is closer to the verb and must agree with it. Always remember that before you apply proximity concord rule, you must make sure that there is the presence of or nor joining your nouns. Look for those correlative conjunctions before you apply proximity concord rule. In our next video, we are going to look at the various exceptions of grammatical concord. See you in the next lesson.
What is notional concord? Let us look at these two sentences. Which of them is correct? The family has moved out of the house. The family have moved out of the house. Which of the sentences is correct? The answer is that both are correct. Why are both correct? This is where notional concord comes in. In this sentence, the speaker views the family as singular, and therefore the speaker used a singular verb. But here, the speaker views the family as plural. Therefore, the speaker selects a plural verb. That is all that notional concord is about. So what can we say about notional concord? Notional concord is the agreement based on the speaker's perception of the number of subjects. So, in the first one, the speaker perceives the subject to be singular and therefore selects a singular verb. But here, the speaker perceives the subject to be plural and therefore selects a plural verb. So, if the speaker sees the subject as a single unit, then a singular verb is selected. For example, the committee has met and it has decided. Now, do you see the verb that we chose for the committee? Here, the speaker views committee as a single unit, and therefore, since the speaker views it as singular, he selected a singular verb. And if you look at the other independent clause, we can see that the speaker used it. This means the speaker still views this particular subject as a singular subject and therefore replaced it with a singular pronoun it and used a singular verb has. What if the speaker views the subject as plural? What verb is going to be selected? If the speaker sees the subject as plural, a plural verb is selected. For example, the committee have met and they have decided. So over here, the speaker sees the committee as plural and therefore selects a plural verb. And since the speaker views it as plural, the speaker selected a plural pronoun to replace the committee and then followed it with a plural verb. So that is notional concord. You will choose the verb based on your perception, whether you see the noun to be singular or whether you see it to be plural. But which kind of nouns do you have to apply notional concord? In English, those nouns that require the notional concord are called collective nouns. So whenever you see a collective noun in English, you can either use a singular verb or a plural verb after it based on how you see the subject. So what are these collective nouns? Some are army, association, audience, board, caste, clan, class, club, college, commission, company, corporation, council, couple, crew, crowd, department. You can pause the video and go through the rest of the collective nouns. Whenever you have these nouns serving as your subject, you can choose a singular verb or a plural verb, and both are correct. Let's have some examples. The class is to be blamed. Over here, the speaker sees the class as a single unit, and class is a collective noun and therefore chooses a singular verb. What if the speaker sees the class as consisting of individual members and not a single unit? Here is how the sentence is going to look like. The class are to be blamed. So over here, the speaker sees the class, which is a collective noun, as consisting of individual members who are more than one, therefore chooses a plural verb. So in this case, the speaker sees class as a single unit, so a singular verb was chosen. Here, the speaker sees class as consisting of individual members, therefore a plural verb is selected. So in notional concord, you can choose either a singular verb or a plural verb based on how you view the subject. If you view it as singular, then you select a singular verb. If you consider the subject as plural, then you select a plural verb. But note that you do not just go around applying notional concord to any kind of noun that you meet. The noun must be a collective noun in a subject position. Let's have more examples. The government has finished the project. The government has means that the speaker sees government as a single unit, as a singular noun, and therefore selects a singular verb. What about if the speaker sees the government as consisting of individual members and therefore plural? The speaker would say, the government have finished the project. Next one, this generation wants everything. Here, the speaker sees this generation as consisting of individual members and therefore sees it as a plural noun. So a plural verb is needed in this case. What if generation is viewed as a single unit or a singular noun? You would have to go with a singular verb with S inflection. So this generation wants everything. Let us see the last example. The committee has finished the assignment. Let me ask you, how does the speaker view this particular collective noun? The speaker views it as a single unit and therefore a singular noun. That is why has was chosen. Now, is it only collective nouns that behave this way? No. Apart from collective nouns that can either take a singular verb or a plural verb, some nouns of nationalities can also take singular or plural based on how the speaker sees the subject. Such nouns of nationality include English, Togolese, Japanese, Polish, Lebanese, and some others. For example, the Japanese was very friendly. This means that the speaker is talking about only one Japanese. But if you say the Japanese were very friendly, the speaker is talking about more than one Japanese. In the same way, the Chinese is very friendly. Here, the speaker is talking about one Chinese. But if the speaker says the Chinese are very friendly, then the speaker is referring to more than one Chinese. So notional concord is applied whenever we have collective nouns or some nouns of nationality like these ones. In exam, if you choose the class is to be blamed, you are correct. And if you say the class are to be blamed, you are also correct. Rule number 1. Concord of intervening prepositional phrases. Look at this sentence. The student, as well as his father and mother, is in school. Why did we select is? Are you probably wondering? We had the student and we added father and mother. Why did we still bring is? This is where concord of intervening prepositional phrases is applied. When you have such a sentence, it is the first noun that is going to agree with your verb, but not any noun in the prepositional phrase. So you will ignore everything in the prepositional phrase, and then the first noun will agree with your verb. So the student is in school. This can be taken out, meaning it is just intervening the subject and then the verb. Therefore, if you have an intervening prepositional phrase, disregard it and then focus on the first noun. If the first noun is singular, then you will choose a singular verb. If it is plural, then you will go for a plural verb. Let's have more examples. The girl, in addition to her mother, comes here always. Why did we choose a singular verb? Because the girl is singular. This is a prepositional phrase. And what do we know about intervening prepositional phrases? We do not consider anything in the intervening phrase in selecting our subject. We will focus on the first noun and then select our subject. So the sentence reads, the girl comes here always. The girl, in addition to her mother, comes here always. Logically, if we say the girl in addition to her mother, aren't we talking about two people? Yes, but remember, this is grammar. In addition to her mother is a prepositional phrase, so we would not consider this particular phrase in choosing a verb. We will focus on the girl and then select the appropriate verb form. The girl is singular and therefore we should choose comes. We have my father, including all the 400 workers, works hard. The sentence is, my father works hard. So you would ignore whatever is contained in the intervening prepositional phrase. In order to keep this particular rule in mind, look at the prepositions that start the intervening prepositional phrases. The next one, Tracy with her family prays in the morning. Can you explain why we chose praise and not pray? This is because Tracy is a singular noun. We will not consider any noun in the intervening prepositional phrase. It is this one that is going to agree with our verb. The next one, the girls, along with my friend, move together. So what have we said so far about intervening prepositional phrases? They can be omitted from the sentence. They shouldn't be considered when selecting the verb. Over here, we have the girls move together. The girls, plural. Therefore, we select move. Let us solve this question. Mr. Ben, in collaboration with the company, pay the workers or pays the workers. Congratulations. The answer is pays. Why? This is because we will not consider anything in the prepositional phrase. We will disregard everything that is contained in collaboration with the company. Ignore this one. So Mr. Ben is the noun that should agree with our verb. Therefore, Mr. Ben pays the workers. Now the last one, boys together with their friends is brave or are brave. The correct response is are. Why? This is because boys is plural. So boys are brave. We don't consider anything in the intervening prepositional phrase. In a nutshell, whenever you see phrases like as well as, in addition to, including, with, along with, in collaboration with, together with. They are intervening prepositional phrases and they shouldn't be considered when you are selecting a verb for the subject. It is the first noun that should agree with the verb and not the nouns in the intervening prepositional phrases. That is rule number 1. In our next video, we will look at the golden exception number 2. Rule number 6. The rule of coordinated units. What do we mean? Whenever nouns are joined by and in the subject position, we usually select a plural verb. For example, Bismarck and Henry are friends. Why did we choose are? This is because we have joined Bismarck and then Henry using and. Whenever you combine two nouns in the subject position, then you have coordinated the nouns. So over here, we can replace Bismarck and Henry with they. We can say they are friends. What about this? My father and my friend have phones. Why did we select have and not has? This is because we have two different individuals. We have my father and then my friend. They are two different people. We have coordinated the two nouns, making them plural. So we would say they have phones. However, there are some exceptions to this particular rule. Let us look at these exceptions. Exception number 1, when the coordinated nouns refer to a meal or a title of a book, music, movies, or articles, select a singular verb. Let us have these examples. Example number 1, Gari and beans is my favorite food. Do you see the coordinated units? We have combined Gari and beans. But why didn't we write are? This is because the coordinated nouns over here refer to a meal. So it is just one thing that we are talking about. So you can say it is my favorite food. It is not two separate or different meals, but it is one meal. So Gari and beans, it is my favorite food. Let us see the next example. Rice and stew tastes delicious. Why didn't we write taste without s? This is because although we have joined these two nouns using and, it is still referring to one meal. So we will say it tastes delicious and not they taste delicious. Alvin and the Chipmunk is an interesting movie. Why did we choose is? Alvin and the Chipmunk refers to a title of a movie. So since it is a title of a movie, we can say it is an interesting movie and not they is or they are an interesting movie. This is just one movie, just that its title contains two nouns that are coordinated. We consider it as singular. So we will say Alvin and the Chipmunk is an interesting movie. Pride and Prejudice was written by Jane Austen. Why did we choose was? Pride and Prejudice refers to a title and not two different things. So we can say it was written by Jane Austen. I have a question for you. Which of the answers are you going to choose? Romeo and Juliet is an interesting play by Shakespeare, or Romeo and Juliet are an interesting play by Shakespeare. The correct response is S. This is because Romeo and Juliet is just a title of a play. Therefore, it is considered singular and not plural. Let us look at the next exception to the coordinated units rule. When the conjoined subject refers to the same person or the same idea, we select a singular verb. Let's have some examples. My mother and my friend are coming. We selected are. We are talking about two different people here. My mother and also my friend. They are two. So we will say they are coming. But what if we have this? My mother and friend is coming. Why did we select is? The conjoined units refer to just one person.
If you say my mother and friend, you mean that your mother is the same as your friend. You have taken your mother as your friend. So she is coming, not they are coming. So how do you know that the conjoined units are referring to just one person? There is always the absence of a determiner before the second noun. If there is no determiner before the second noun, then we are referring to the same person. Let us have more examples. The principal and the teacher have arrived. Here we are talking about two different people, the principal and the teacher. This means that we can replace this with they. They have arrived. But if we remove this particular determiner from there, then we will be referring to just one person. For example, the principal and teacher has arrived. This we chose has because there is no determiner before teacher. So it means that the principal is the same as the teacher. The same person performs these two roles as a principal and as a teacher. If we were to replace this with a pronoun, we would say he has arrived. So always check whether there is a determiner before the second noun. If there is no determiner, then choose a singular verb because we are talking about one person. The next one, prayer and fasting is a good tool for believers. Here we are expressing only one idea. Look at the noun that we used after the verb. We said a good tool. This means that we view the coordinated nouns as just one idea. Prayer and fasting is a good tool, and not prayer and fasting are a good tool. Let us solve these questions. Our secretary and friend, which one would you go for? Is it our secretary and friend is in the room, or our secretary and friend are in the room? The second one, our secretary and our friend is in the room, or our secretary and our friend are in the room. Let us see the answers. The first one is. Why? This is because our secretary and friend refer to the same person. It means that the secretary is our friend. So we do not have any determiner before friend, meaning we are talking about the same person. But look at this. Our secretary and our friend. We are talking about two different people, so we are going to select are. So the most important thing is the presence of a determiner before the second noun. If there is a determiner, then they are two different people. If there is no determiner, then we are referring to just one person. What if we join nouns with and, but these nouns are preceded by each and every? It is a rule in English grammar that whenever we have nouns preceded by each and every, we select a singular verb. For example, each boy was given a car. Every girl has a bicycle. So we select singular verbs whenever we have each and every preceding nouns. What if each and every precede nouns that are conjoined? For example, each man and each woman in this village is wealthy. Why did we choose is? It is a rule that even if you have a conjoined subject and those conjoined subjects are preceded by each or every, you are going to select a singular verb. So we had each man, each woman. Since both of them are preceded by each, we will go for a singular verb. Every boy and girl in the school learns hard. Why didn't we choose learn? This is because our conjoined nouns are preceded by every. So when they are preceded by every, you are going to select a singular verb. The last one, each man and woman is available. Why didn't we say are? This is because the conjoined nouns are preceded by each. Try this.
every teacher and every student. Try this. Every teacher and every student in the school come late, or every teacher and every student in the school comes late. Which one is the correct response? The answer is comes. Why? Because although we have coordinated teacher and student, but we have the words every preceding them, meaning we are going to select a singular verb. Those are some exceptions of the coordinated units. In our next lesson, we will be looking at where clauses and prepositions function as the subject.
Rule number 7. Clauses and prepositional phrases as subjects. What verb would you select when you have a clause as a subject or a prepositional phrase as a subject? You have to go for a singular verb. So when a clause or a prepositional group functions as a subject, select a singular verb. If you don't know what a clause is and you don't know what a prepositional phrase is, kindly watch the video on clauses and phrases. That we didn't register for the program is bad. What is the clause? It is that we didn't register for the program. So the whole of this is serving as our subject. So we have a clause as a subject. This is a that clause and it is functioning as a subject. So we would have to select a singular verb. Let's see another example. Where we will even have the lecture has been a problem. What is the subject? The subject is the whole of this. It is a clause, a WH or an interrogative clause. Where we will even have the lecture. That is our subject. Since it is a clause, we selected a singular verb. Let's see another example. To pass this exam is my target. This is a to infinitive clause. Therefore, we select a singular verb. What is the subject? To pass this exam. It is my target to pass this exam. In the next one is an instance where we have a prepositional phrase as a subject. In the room lies a lazy man. Why didn't we write lie? We had a prepositional phrase, and the rule says that when you have a prepositional group or a prepositional phrase, you select a singular verb. So, in the room lies a lazy man. Driving at night feels so good. What feels so good? Driving at night. So we have this participial clause as our subject. Therefore, we selected a singular verb. Try to get this one correct. When we will organize the event is still our problem, or when we will organize the event are still our problem. Which one is the correct response? The answer is. When we will organize the event is a clause. Therefore, we will select a singular verb for it. Now, whenever you have clauses or prepositional phrases as subjects, you can replace them with anticipatory it. For example, it is bad that we didn't register for the program. It has been a problem where we will even have the lecture. It is my target to pass this exam. So, since it can be replaced with the anticipatory it must go with a singular verb. Try this exercise. In the middle of the night was when I heard a scream, or in the middle of the night were when I heard a scream. What is the correct response? The answer is was. This is because we have a prepositional phrase as our subject, so we will select a singular verb. In the next one, at the end of the road stand or stands a strange house. Which is the right option? It is stands. This is because we have a prepositional phrase as our subject. What you are looking for is not here, or what you are looking for are not here. The correct response is is. What you are looking for is not here. This is because we have a WH clause functioning as our subject. So remember, whenever you have a clause or a prepositional group functioning as the subject, you will select a singular verb. Rule number 8. Concord of invariable plural nouns. We will focus on summation plurals and plurality tantum. What are plural invariable nouns? There are some nouns in English that occur only in their plural forms. So whenever these nouns are used, you will choose a plural verb. So plural invariable nouns occur only in their plural forms. When they are used as subjects, select a plural verb. There are 3 main categories of plural invariable nouns. The first one is summation plurals, and they include tools, instruments, or clothes consisting of 2 parts. What are some examples of these plural nouns? They are glasses, spectacles, pincers, pliers, scissors, shears, tongs, forceps, braziers, jeans, trousers, shorts, pajamas, pants, braces, and many others. Whenever you see these nouns as subjects, choose a plural verb. They occur only in their plural forms. For example, the scissors are mine, not the scissors is mine. My spectacles look nice, not my spectacles looks nice. The trousers are neat, not the trousers is neat. His shorts were expensive, not his shorts was expensive. However, what if I'm talking about just one pair of scissors? Am I still going to use are? What if I'm talking about just one pair of spectacles? Am I still going to use look? What if I'm referring to the only trousers that I have, which is a pair? Am I still going to use are? Now, whenever a pair is used before these plural nouns, they become singular, and you must choose a singular verb for them. For example, the scissors are mine. We chose are because scissors is always in the plural form. But if we want to make it singular, we will bring the word pair before scissors. So we will say, the pair of scissors is mine. However, if we bring pairs, then it becomes plural again. For example, the pairs of scissors are mine. So take note, when these nouns are used alone in the subject slot, they select a plural verb. However, when you bring the word pair before them, they become singular nouns. Let's have this example. The trousers are neat. We chose are because trousers is a summation plural noun and it exists only in the plural form. If we want to say just one pair, then we can say his pair of trousers is neat. Here it has become singular because of the presence of pair. But if we say pairs, it becomes plural again. His pairs of trousers are neat. This is one example of the plural invariable nouns. Wherever you see them, they are plural, and you must choose a plural verb, unless you use a pair before them. Let us move on to the next category of plural invariable nouns, and that is the Pluralia Tantum. These nouns usually have s endings, and they occur only in their plural forms. So all of the nouns that you have over here exist in their plural forms. They don't have a singular form. So when they are used as subjects, you will go for a plural verb. For example, archives, clothes, ashes, earnings, arrears, congratulations, remains, credentials, customs, surroundings, valuables, stairs, premises, wages, regards, goods.
Whenever these nouns are used as subjects, select a plural verb. For example, the goods were delivered on time, not the goods was delivered on time. Their belongings have been packed into the boxes, not their belongings has been packed into the boxes. Her credentials are expensive. Why did we choose are? Why did we choose are? This is a plurality tantum, so we are going to select a plural verb. Their surroundings look peaceful. Surroundings is an example of plurality tantum, and it takes only a plural verb. The next category of plural invariable nouns is the unmarked plurals. These nouns always go with a plural verb. Take note: cattle, poultry, livestock, and police. For example, the cattle disturb the neighborhood, not the cattle disturbs the neighborhood, because cattle is always in its plural form. Another example: the livestock keep disturbing us, not the livestock keeps disturbing us. His poultry give him money, not his poultry gives him money. This is the concord of plural invariable nouns. All the nouns that we mentioned should go with a plural verb. Let us solve these questions. Question 1. The scissors is sharp, or the scissors are sharp. What is the answer? It is are, because scissors is an example of a summation plural noun. It is always in its plural form. So the scissors are sharp. Now the next one. The trousers was or were too tight. What is the answer? The answer is were. This is because trousers is also an example of a summation plural noun. So it always goes with a plural verb. The pair of jeans is or are old. What did we say about pair? Whenever we bring it before a summation plural noun, we are going to choose a singular verb. So, the pair of jeans is old. The last one, the valuables seem or seems important. The answer is seem. This is because valuables belong to plurality tantum, and therefore we will select a plural verb, which is seem. In our next lesson, we will look at the Concord rule number 9. In our previous lesson, we learned that some nouns occur only in their plural forms. In this lesson, we are going to look at nouns that occur only in their singular forms and must go with a singular verb. They are called singular invariable nouns. These nouns exist only in their singular forms and they must go with a singular verb. Mostly, they end in S or ICS, and they are normally subjects that are studied in school, games, or diseases. For example, news, economics, mathematics, physics, statistics, politics, phonetics, ethics, measles, tuberculosis, rickets, checkers, tennis, droughts. Whenever these nouns are used as subjects, they occur only in the singular form. They don't have a plural form, so you go for a singular verb. For example, the news was interesting, not the news were interesting. The statistics shows that I won. Politics is not for the weak. Tuberculosis is a dangerous disease. Mathematics seems very easy. Tennis is my favorite sport. Although these nouns end in S, they are singular nouns and must go with singular verbs. Take note. Another category of singular invariable nouns are uncountable nouns. For instance, we can have concrete uncountable nouns. These nouns can be perceived, but they don't have plural forms. For example, water, sand, wood, milk, sugar, ice, bread, gold, air. Whenever these nouns are used as subjects, go with a singular verb. Some uncountable nouns are also abstract. They include love, happiness, knowledge, courage, honesty, peace, friendship, and many others. These nouns do not have plural forms and they are abstract nouns. Whenever these nouns are used as subjects, since they are uncountable nouns, they must take a singular verb. For example, water is tasteless. Milk has been expensive these days. Sugar was a valuable commodity. Happiness brings peace. Knowledge is power. So, in a nutshell, uncountable nouns take singular verbs. Let us move on to the last category of singular invariable nouns. They are the mystical adjective heads. These kind of nouns contain heads that are adjectives, particularly superlative adjectives. For example, the best is yet to come. This is a mystical adjective because it is a superlative adjective that has been used as a subject. The best is yet to come. The worst seems possible. The latest is that we will write exams. So these are adjective heads that take singular verbs. Try your hands on these questions. Number 1. Physics is or are an important subject. Phonetics was or were studied in school. The sand here becomes muddy at night. The worst has or have arrived. What were your answers? Number 1. Physics is an important subject. 2. Phonetics was studied in school. 3. The sand here becomes muddy at night. 4. The worst has arrived. So, these nouns occur only in their singular forms and must go with a singular verb. In our next lesson, we will look at the 10th rule.
Rule number 10. We are going to look at the verbs to select when we encounter these phrases in the subject position. One of, a number of, the number of, many a, all but, more than one. Let's delve straight into the lesson. If you have one of in the subject position, which verb do you select? One of is used to refer to a single entity within a larger group, so it must take a singular verb. So if you have one of, regardless of the noun that follows it, it must select a singular verb. For example, one of the boys is here. One of, we are talking about a single entity within a larger group, so the verb should be singular. One of the countries has developed. One of the 20 students was present. However, sometimes you can have a relative pronoun coming after the larger groups. If that happens, then the verb closer to the relative pronoun should agree with the antecedent of the relative pronoun. For example, one of the boys who are sick is here. Why did we select are? This is because we had a relative pronoun coming after the larger group. So the verb that we select here must agree with the antecedent, the noun that the relative pronoun refers to. So boys are sick. The boys who are sick. So one of them is here. Therefore, whenever you have a relative pronoun, the verb selected must agree with the antecedent of the relative pronoun. Another example, one of the countries which accepts refugees has developed. So we have one of the countries has developed. However, we have this relative pronoun, and the verb that we select here must agree with countries, which is the antecedent of the relative pronoun which. So we would say one of the countries which accepts refugees has developed. Now try to answer the questions below. One of the students was or were absent. Here there is no relative pronoun. In the second one of the students who was or were punished was absent. Let's take the first one. There is no relative pronoun. So it means that we are talking about a single entity within the larger group. So what verb did you select? The answer is was. In the second one, we had a relative pronoun. This means that the verb that we are selecting over here should agree with students, which is the antecedent of the relative pronoun. So the answer is going to be were. The students who were punished, one of them was absent. So that is the Concord rule regarding the use of one of. What about a number of and then the number of? Whenever we use a number of, it takes a plural verb. It means many or several. So a number of doesn't show any specific quantity. So it will take a plural verb, just as we use many or several. So you will say many boys are here or several boys are here. A number of boys are here. Let's have these examples. A number of students are interested in the program. We don't have a specific number, so we will select a plural verb. Let's look at the second example. A number of thieves have been arrested. We chose have because we used the expression a number of. It doesn't specify any specific quantity. Therefore, we select a plural verb. A number of does not refer to any specific amount. So you will go for a plural verb. What if we have the number of? Here we are referring to a specific count of items. So we are going to select a singular verb. So remember, a number of, plural verb. The number of, singular verb. For example, the number of students in the class is amazing. The number of thieves who got arrested was massive. Try to answer this. The number of accidents that occurred has or have affected the country. So we used the number of. So what are you going to select? The second one, a number of accidents that occurred has or have affected the country. So the difference here is the use of the number of and then a number of. In the first one, what would be our answer? We use the number of. We are going to select has because the number of refers to a specific count of items. So the number of accidents that occurred has affected the country. The second one, a number of. What verb did you choose? It should be a plural verb because it is unspecific. So we will say a number of accidents that occurred have affected the country. What if there is the phrase many a or many an coming in the subject slots? Many a or many an is a phrase and it is followed by a singular noun. This means that it should take a singular verb. So whenever we use many a or many an, you have to select a singular verb. It indicates a large number of something. Let us have these examples. Many a candidate has passed the test. Not have passed the test because many a is followed by a singular noun and we must select a singular verb. Another example, many an orange was sold. Many a tale was told. Now answer this. Many a model, and you are given these options, walk or walks majestically. Which one are you going to select? What did we say about many a? We must select a singular verb. So what is the answer? The correct response is B. Many a model walks majestically. What if we use the phrase more than one? Let's see what verb we have to select. More than one is a phrase that is followed by a singular noun, and it must take a singular verb. So the focus here is on one, not the more than. For example, more than one student has passed the test. The focus here is on one student has passed the test. 2. More than one orange was sold. More than one house is. But if we don't have more than one, but we have more than two, it means that the focus will be on two. Therefore, we will select a plural verb. For example, more than 2 students have passed the test. Now answer this question. More than one model, and you have the options walk or walks majestically. What is your answer? The correct response should be walks, because more than one, we are focusing on the one. So one model walks majestically. More than one model walks majestically. Remember, this is grammar, and therefore the rules must be applied whether the sentence sounds correct or wrong. Now, what if you meet all but? Whenever all but is used, you must select a plural verb. For example, all but Amma are present. What does this mean? It means, except for Amma, all the people are present. So all but Amma are present. All but the teacher have arrived. So, except for the teacher, all the people have arrived. Answer this question. What is the correct response to this? All but Jude is or are available. So the answer should be are. This is because whenever we use all but, we go with a plural verb. So the answer is all but Jude are available. Rule number 11. Concord of time and distance, mathematical figures of fractions and percentages, measurement and money. When these occur in the subject slots, what verb are you going to select? Let's delve straight into the lesson. Concord of time and distance. Nouns of time and distance require a singular verb. For example, 22 minutes is enough for this exercise. This is a noun of time. You must go with a singular verb. 3 hours, 49 minutes has been allocated to complete the work. We chose singular verbs because we are referring to nouns of time. In the third sentence, 900 kilometers of the road has been constructed. This is a noun of distance. Therefore, we will select a singular verb. Another one, 248 meters was measured. So whenever you have nouns of time and distance, you must go with a singular verb. Let's solve this question. 33,000 hours was or were calculated. What is the answer? It is was. This is because we are referring to a noun of time. So we would select a singular verb. What about if you have mathematical figures of fractions and then percentages? The verb that you will select depends on the noun that follows the fraction or the percentage. Where the fraction or percentage is followed by a singular or uncountable noun, it takes a singular verb. For example, 1/3 of the cake is missing. 20% of the food has been eaten. 2/3 of the water has been dried. 60% remains in our account. Why did we select remains? This is because here we are talking about an uncountable noun, which is money. The money in our account. Whenever uncountable nouns follow fractions, you are going to select singular verbs for them. What if the fraction or percentage is followed by a plural countable noun? You must select a plural verb. For example, 2/4 of the books are missing. 50% of the managers are here. 3/5 of the tables have been broken. 90% of the trees have branches. So this is what you need to know about fractions and percentages as subjects. The verb you will select depends on whether we have a plural noun or an uncountable noun after them. Now let us answer this question. 20% of the money has or have been paid. The correct response is has. This is because the noun that follows the percentage is uncountable, so we will select has as our correct response. What about nouns of measurement and money? Whenever you have plural nouns of measurement and money in the subject position, it requires a singular verb. For example, 6 gallons of oil is needed to prepare the food. This is because we have a noun of measurement. Another instance, 20 bags of flour is ready for processing. So this is a noun of measurement, so we will select a singular verb. What about if we have plural nouns of money? 685 Ghana cedis has been paid to the firm, not 685 Ghana cedis have been paid to the firm. So remember, when money is involved in the subject position, we are going to select a singular verb. Another instance, $4,260 is needed for this project, not are needed for this project. This is because we have a count of money occurring in the subject slots. Let us answer this question. 3 billion naira. 3 billion naira is what I need or are what I need. What did we say about nouns of money? We are going to select a singular verb.
Rule number 12. Concord of indefinite pronouns. We have many indefinite pronouns in English, and it is the largest category of pronouns. Some of them go with singular verbs, and some of them go with plural verbs. These indefinite pronouns take singular verbs, and they include everyone, everybody, everything, everywhere, somebody, something, someone, no one, nothing, nobody, nowhere, one, each, neither, and either. Whenever you have these pronouns functioning as subjects, always go for the singular verb. For example, everyone is here. Everybody has left. Neither is absent. Neither means none of the two. So neither is absent. Each has a bag. Each means one. So each has a bag. So these indefinite pronouns over here, you can pause the video and go through them again. They all select singular verbs when they occur as subjects. Some indefinite pronouns do require plural verbs. And what are these indefinite pronouns? They are both, few, a few, several, many, and some others. These indefinite pronouns, wherever they occur as subjects, must select a plural verb. For example, both are mine. Few were called. Several have been warned. Many are wanted. Sometimes we can add nouns to these indefinite pronouns. If we do that, they become determinants. Both boys are mine. We can say, both pencils are mine. Few boys were called. Several men have been warned. Many girls are wanted. So these pronouns, unlike these ones, require a plural verb. Again, there are some indefinite pronouns that take singular or plural verbs depending on the nouns that follow them.
These pronouns are all, have, and then some. It will depend on the noun that follows all, have, or some, which will determine the verb that we will choose. For example, all the salt is missing. Why did we select is? Salt is an uncountable noun. Therefore, we will select a singular verb. All the salt is missing. So we can say all is missing when we are referring to a singular uncountable noun. What if we are referring to a plural noun? For example, all the books are missing. We won't write is. This is because books is in its plural form. So all the books are missing. All are missing. So choosing are or is depends on the noun that follows all. In the same way, when you have, the noun that follows it will determine the verb type that we will choose. So half of the money was gone. Half was gone. Half of the boys were gone. Half were gone. What about some? It works the same way. Some of the sugar is left. So some is left. Or some of the girls are left. Some are left. So these pronouns all, have, and some can select singular verbs or plural verbs depending on the nouns that follow them. For pronouns like few, a few, several, many, they always go with plural verbs. And for these ones that end with one, body, thin, they select singular verbs. Let us solve these questions. Everybody has or have a house. Someone comes here every day, or someone come here every day. Neither of the two boys is happy, or neither of the two boys are happy. All of the milk is expensive, or all of the milk are expensive. What are the answers? In the first one, everybody always goes with a singular verb. So it is everybody has a house. Someone comes here every day. Neither of the two boys is happy. The next one, all of the milk is expensive, or all of the milk are expensive. The answer is is. This is because we have milk which is uncountable, so we will go for a singular verb. If we had a plural noun over here, we would have gone for a plural verb. For example, all of the trees or all of the chairs are expensive. You can rewatch this video as many times as you want to aid comprehension. Rule number 13. Mandative Subjunctive Concord. If you had this question, which one would you select as your answer? I wish that he come here, or I wish that he comes here. Let us delve straight into the lesson. Sometimes we use sentences to express demand, wish, request, recommendation, resolution, or suggestion. Whenever we use these words in our sentences, then we call it the subjunctive mood. So the subjunctive mood is used to express demand, wish, request, recommendation, resolution, or suggestion. Whenever you are expressing this mood, then the verb selected must be in the bare form, irrespective of the subject that we use. For instance, it is recommended that he audit the report. Why didn't we write audits as we would have done in our subject-verb agreement? We used the bare form of the verb because we had the word recommended over here. So we were expressing recommendation. It is subjunctive mood, and you are going to go for the bare form of the verb, no matter the subject that is used. Another sentence, we demand that he pay his share. Why isn't it he pays as we learnt? This is because we have used the word demand over here. So we are expressing subjunctive mood, and therefore we must take the bare form of the verb. So this is the correct form of the sentence. We demand that he pay his share. The next one. The president suggested that the minister leave immediately. Why did we select the bare form of the verb? This is because we had suggested. We are expressing suggestion, so subjunctive mood. And what verb do we select? A bare form of the verb. So the president suggested that the minister leave immediately. I pray he recover soon. Here we are expressing a wish through prayer. Therefore, we will select the bare form of the verb. So, I pray he recover soon. Now let us express a resolution. They have resolved that the chairman buy the furniture. Why didn't we write buys? Because the chairman is singular. Isn't it singular? The rule says that if we have words like pray, resolve, suggest, demand, recommend, it means that we are expressing a subjunctive mood. Therefore, we would have to go for the bare form of the verb. So it will be, they have resolved that the chairman buy the furniture. Let's solve this question. I recommend that my mother buy me a book or buys me a book. What is the correct response? The answer is buy. This is because we have recommendation. We are expressing a subjunctive mood. Therefore, we will go for the bare form of the verb. There are other cases where the subjunctive mood also occurs. That is when you have to use the subjunctive where. If you are expressing a wish using words like if, as though, then it means that you are referring to a hypothetical situation, a situation that is not real. Therefore, if you are choosing between was and were, you are going to go for were, irrespective of the subject. For example, I wish I were a girl. Here it is a hypothetical situation, something that is unlikely to happen. Therefore, we use were as our verb and not was. I wish he were a boy. Here we are expressing a hypothetical situation, so we are going to go for were and not was. If I were you, I would not attend the event. Why did we choose were? This is because we are expressing a hypothetical situation using if. We would have to go with were and not was. In the last one, if Ken were rich, we wouldn't be suffering. Why didn't we write was? Since Ken is singular, we did that because this is an unreal situation, a hypothetical situation. So we are expressing something like a wish. Therefore, if Ken were rich, not if Ken was rich. Let's solve this question. If their father was or were alive, they wouldn't struggle. What are you going to select over here? Since we are expressing a hypothetical situation, we are going to go for were, because this situation is unreal. So we will apply the subjunctive were. If their father were alive, they wouldn't struggle.